Hello, and welcome to The Key, an Unlock Foundation podcast for women, by women, centered on the topic of women's self-worth and empowering women to take the brave steps to close the pay gap in their own lives. My name is Severia Harris, and today I am joined by members of the Unlock community, including our special guest for today, Dr. Anna Emily, the founder and CEO of a company by the very fun name, She's So Money, a personal finance and investment education company for women. Dr. Anna Emily, as you will hear on today's podcast, is passionate about teaching women how to be empowered with their finances and confident investors so that they can create the life, freedom, and security that they desire. Dr. Anna Emily, who we will now refer to as simply Anna, is going to be talking with us about self-worth, networking, and of course, becoming the next She's So Money. Anna, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Ladies, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Helena from Pennsylvania.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sabrina from sunny South Florida.
Hello, this is Olga from Pennsylvania.
Wonderful. All right, let's get into it. So here at the Unlock Foundation, we believe your network is your net worth and that we're trying to strengthen women's financial security, close the pay gap by changing how we network. But that's a challenge. And I wanted to ask you, have you ever felt that networking was a challenge in your own life? And how did you overcome that, if so?
Yes, I definitely have found networking a challenge. And I think it's for several reasons. Firstly, I am very much an introvert. So the idea of going into a group of anyone and walking into a room of anyone was very scary for me. And I didn't actually attend my first networking event probably until I was in my late 20s. It was actually when I started my first business. I kind of forced myself to go to these things. And it was really the introversion, but also a lack of confidence, I think, and especially socially. So just the whole concept of a networking event was terrifying for me. And the first few ones I went to were quite dry, quite uninspiring. And I think it put me off. And really how I overcame that was actually seeking out networking events that were actually female only. That did help reduce some of my nervousness. And also networking events that played on the joke of networking events being boring. So they would say, you know, we know they're normally a bit dry and we make sure that ours aren't like that. So I started to go to a few like that and I had a really good time. And that kind of built my confidence. And I think also changing the narrative I was telling myself that everyone there is also probably a bit nervous or uncomfortable. I'm not the only person. So those things really helped me overcome the kind of apprehension around them.
I love that. It's interesting because I have such a big personality. And so everybody naturally thinks, oh, Sabrina, you're an extrovert because, you know, you make everyone smile. But historically, I'm actually incredibly introverted, incredibly shy, especially as a kid, you know, young teens, lack of confidence, et cetera, right? And so my dynamic, my idea of networking kind of changed by happenstance. I needed a job. And so I happened to get employed by this Fortune 500 company in hospitality. And so I did the whole front desk thing, like, sure, I could do that, check and check, whatever. And then just over time, I would meet people. I worked at a business featured hotel for the most part. And so we had a lot of business customers that came back and forth all the time. And so they would remember the conversations you had and they'd say, oh, how's that goal coming along? Or I would remember theirs. And over time, I realized, oh, wow, like I have a little resource pool that I can call upon if, I don't know, I need to know something about the airline industry, or I happen to speak with somebody who does physics. Would I need to know that? I don't know, I might, but now I have somebody I can call upon and reach out to. And that's how my idea of networking changed from being this shy little girl, getting all my business cards together, my little pad folio, and let me walk into this room and I'm sweating profusely all the time and thinking, this sucks, I'm stressed, to all I have to do is have a conversation with people and it'll develop naturally. And so I like that it happened by happenstance for me, but that's how it worked. And I love it because networking definitely doesn't have to be difficult.
You know, for so many people, networking is a challenge. And even for myself, I would consider myself to be an extrovert, but I too struggle with it. And I think in my case, I've struggled with it because I've always had a part of me that's like, it feels too transactional. You know, like I'm supposed to go in with a mission, find somebody, get this like Mission Impossible theme music in my head, you know, like I have to go in, like find the person and then like close something. I don't know. I've always hated it. So, you know, like you just like attack your problems by like creating solutions. But it sounds like a lot of women, you know, you, Anna, you, Sabrina, others we've heard from sort of start from a place of not liking networking. Why do you think that networking is a challenge for women?
I mean, there can be lots of reasons, but I'd say that one of the biggest reasons is that generally as women, we're conditioned to not put ourselves out there. And actually, I remember years ago, I went to a seminar and one of my friends was speaking on stage and she was very, very successful. She'd had a very successful health and wellness business. And then she'd also created a doll company and the dolls were in Harrods in London. You know, she was a very successful woman. And when she was speaking on stage, I was kind of comparing it to, there was a guy there who was speaking, also very successful, and he was talking about his yacht and his brand new Mercedes that he bought and all of this. And then she just kept apologizing, saying, I'm not trying to be too big-headed. I'm not trying to, you know, come across like I'm brilliant. And she kept apologizing, even though she was just as successful as the man, if not more. And it was so interesting to see that contrast. Well, I think we just are conditioned to play small in that respect. And so the whole concept of asking for something or promoting ourselves is uncomfortable. And I think that's a big reason women find it a challenge.
Historically, men have been networking on a golf course and at the bar, you know, at these different fun places where they get to hang out with a small group of guys where they actually build relationships, right? Where they can have a conversation about what they like, what they don't like, that, you know, they kind of really truly get to know each other, versus women networking, to your point, going into a gigantic room with a ton of unknown people where you have to approach strangers, which is very uncomfortable. And so there hasn't been really many places where women can have fun networking and have fun building those relationships. And really, you know, this is really the ground for this organization and for our foundation, is to create those places where women can have fun networking together, right? Where it's not uncomfortable, but where we do have those uncomfortable conversations that we don't really talk to, you know, our family or friends on a daily basis. Yet those sort of conversations are very important to unlocking ourselves to become more successful.
I want to talk a little bit about psychology and, you know, full disclaimer, because I'm a lawyer. Nobody on the line is a psychologist or has a psychology degree. This is for the sake of conversation, for entertainment purposes only. But, you know, I'm curious, what belief were you taught that made it most challenging to see your self-worth, right? So that when you go into these rooms, you have to do the elevator pitch, you're kind of struggling. So like, what was the belief that you were taught that made it challenging to see your self-worth?
I would say that one of the beliefs that has been very influential for me personally with my self-worth is this idea that you shouldn't be too full of yourself. And when I was at school, I was the smart one of the group. And I quickly learned that I kind of had to choose between embracing that and belonging to the group and not being kind of cast out. And over my life, I have had several instances where, you know, it's built on each other, where it's felt unsafe to be that smart, either because I'm going to be rejected by people or people will be intimidated by me and people won't like me. And I think we just are so hardwired to want to belong to the group and be liked, especially when you're a teenager. You know, you want to fit in at all costs. So I definitely say that's played a big role in my own journey with self-worth.
Growing up, self-promoting, it always was viewed negatively, looked down. It's like a big no-no. So you basically put your head down, work really hard, and hope somebody gonna notice it. And similar to a few of you guys being introvert, it definitely doesn't help. However, I actually have been really lucky in my life to have some people who actually notice my hard work and help me with my career. Working hard, and doing your best, yes, putting your head down and do not self-promote yourself. No, you still have to position yourself and make other people aware of your worth.
What is it, given this life experience that you've had, what is it that you most want for women and girls to understand when it comes to their worth?
I mean, I've been in business nearly 10 years. And when I first started out, I was very successful very quickly and I made a lot of money. And then that income stopped and I went from, earning a lot of money to worrying about paying my rent. And I really struggled because I pinned my worth on how much money I was making and how successful I was, because I'd learned when I was younger that my worth was attached to my achievements. And that's something I'm still trying to detach from, but I could tell that the problems were caused by the fact I was attaching it to the outside. So I would want women and girls to know, or to try and cultivate, putting their self-worth on, attaching it to things on the inside, or even not attaching it to anything at all, and just knowing that just for existing, you're worthy of respect and safety and love and all of these things just by being. And, noticing, do you treat other people well? Are you a good person? But I think it's tough because our society does make us pin our self-worth to what do we look like? How much money do we earn? So I would want them to recognize what's going on and try and cultivate it from the inside, but also, just know that they're worthy just of these like basic things like love and security and safety and respect just for being.
It's wild that we even have to have a conversation about self-worth. Why is this a topic of conversation? Because we have so many external forces implementing in our minds what we should be thinking about, what we should be doing, what we should be saying, trying to make our friends happy, trying to fit in. And that's where the self-worth goes to die. Right? We've got to bring it back inwards. I think that for girls and for women, it literally is, you matter, period, end of story. You matter, you have amazing self-worth. And if you ever feel like, I'm not sure, or I don't like how I feel, change your circle. Immediately change your circle. Infuse yourself with all the best self-help quotes you can read, all of the great positive music. Just instantly do that, because all you have to do is switch your mind. And you will then start to think clearly. You will then start to listen to the voice within, and you'll realize, oh, I do matter. Oh, I am badass. Oh, I can do this, this, and this. I just have to put my mind to it and just get it done and accomplished. And so stop focusing on the external and listen to you. You've got everything you need to take over this world, because you matter and you're valuable and people love you. And if you're thinking otherwise, then you're in the wrong circle. So change it immediately.
A device that I have employed at various difficult times in my life is a quote wall. And I have taken out a stack of Post-its, super cheap, and a black Sharpie, and I'll just write down as many inspirational statements, these messages that you surround yourself with. You might feel intimidated or silly writing them down and thinking like, I just need this, but actually everyone could use some encouragement. So we talked a little bit about self-worth. Let's talk about the role of other people. And I actually want to step outside of our gender, talk about the men's. What role do men have to play when it comes to closing the pay gap?
This is such a juicy question. I think they can do a lot. And I think one thing is definitely opening up the conversation, because generally money is not talked about. I think especially in the corporate world. And a lot of the reason I think that the pay gap is, you know, being extended and is going on so long is because we're not having these conversations. But with men need to be having these conversations with their female colleagues, and it not be this super secret thing. What are you earning? Oh, I don't want to say. And I think that one of the biggest issues is that the pay gap benefits certain parties, right? And, you know, they benefit from it. So they are going to benefit from people not having conversations around it. And I think the hardest thing men need to do, but the most important thing, is really recognize the privilege that they have, the fact that they are benefiting from making more money when we are dating, and the whole 50-50 concept. Because I used to be a 50-50 person, absolutely. And then I had my mind changed by it. And a lot of it is to do with this pay gap, because a lot of the men who will do 50-50 in the dating world, they are not at work advocating for 50-50 pay. They are not at home advocating for 50-50 like division of labor. It only matters when it comes to paying the restaurant bill on a date. And so I think it's them recognizing the hypocrisy there of, you're getting paid a lot more, yet you're expecting women to come to the table with and contribute just as much financially. So I think they need to be recognizing that and having those difficult conversations, and supporting their female colleagues in the workplace when they are saying, hey, this isn't right, that we're still getting paid less for the same job.
When thinking about expectations for your own life, to what degree has the desire not to offend others played a role?
So I was engaged, and that engagement ended. And one of the biggest reasons was, you know, he was repeatedly telling me, you know, you've got to be more realistic. These things aren't going to happen. And it's, you know, that is why it's so important to surround yourself with other women that are just as unrealistic, as we like to say, because they are going to fuel you. And I think that unfortunately people can get offended when they feel intimidated by you, or you reflect something in their life that they're unhappy with. And so if they've decided to give up on their goals or their dreams, and they see you going for it, especially I think with my own journey, I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I'm definitely not where I want to be yet. And the fact that I've not given up seems to trigger a lot of people. And I don't know whether that's because they, you know, they have given up. But yeah, it's definitely played a big role. And I think it plays a big role for a lot of people. And I often have these conversations with my friends who are entrepreneurs, is, you know, you have to shield yourself to some degree. And sometimes I don't even have these conversations with certain friends because it's just easier not to have them. But yeah, I would say it's definitely played a big role with my own expectations for my life.
Some of you ladies know that, you know, I'm born and raised Ukrainian. And so being an immigrant, there's definitely an expectation of success in getting a career, getting a job. You know, my parents gave up so much to bring us to United States for a better life. So I kind of put pressure on myself to succeed, and, you know, saying, no, I want to have a different career, not saying no and agreeing and being the, you know, saying yes to things and agreeing to things has been a disease to please, as Oprah had said once, that I wanted to get rid of because it's been holding me back. So through these type of conversations and through being open with these ladies and with this network, it's helping me to get rid of that disease and to be able to say no, and also knowing that no is a full sentence. You don't have to explain yourself. And I'm also teaching that to my girls as well.
I know a few of you ladies from very beginning of you studying the Unlock Foundation, and I know that was very ambitious goal from very beginning, that you had to believe in yourself, you had to believe in the idea in order to make it happen. And the day of launch, it was a very emotional day for a lot of us, right? A lot of you guys. It was a great testament to, if you put your mind to something big, to something ambitious, you can actually do it, and just push it forward. And you're not doing that only for yourself, you're doing that for many more people to follow.
Beautifully said. All right. Well, listen, Dr. Anna, we could talk to you all night here, all day there. So I'm actually going to ask two questions more. One general question, and finally our signature question. So the last general question, what's the most empowering advice that you've received when it comes to self-worth that we can leave our listeners with?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, I guess, but it was actually a line I read from a book by Seth Godin, and it was about imposter syndrome. And he was saying that if you don't have imposter syndrome, it probably means that you're a sociopath, and that is a bad thing. And it really hit me because imposter syndrome is definitely something that I have, and I think a lot of us have, but it had always been talked about from this angle of, how to overcome it, how to not have it. And he was coming from this angle of, it's normal. If you walk into a room of people and you don't feel a little bit intimidated, or you don't have some doubt, that's such a human experience, that if you don't experience that at all, then maybe there's like something going on. And it's a little bit funny advice, but it really helped me, because it helped me realize that even super successful people have this, and it's nothing to do with my worthiness of being in the room or being at that table. It's just a normal human experience. So I'd say, yeah, that was one of the best things that has helped me.
I think my moment was, I read a quote from, I think it's Marilyn Monroe, actually. Y'all have to go look it up. But it was something along the lines of, wanting to be someone else is a complete waste of the person you are. It was just so different than your traditional motivational speech, like, you can do it, because it forced me to start at the premise that I'm actually pretty awesome and go from there, right? And it opened my eyes, and I thought, all right, now I'm going to challenge myself to live more and more authentically and see what happens. And it's not always peaches and cream, but it's a lot more golden than I would have expected.
Anna, last question just for you. What happens when everything in your life is a reflection of your self-worth?
I love this question. And I think obviously the answer depends on, well, actually, when you look outside yourself and where your life is at, and whether you are where you want to be and you're seeing what you want to see, can be a really good segue into reflecting on your self-worth and where it's at. Because I'm a really big believer of the idea of subconscious identity, and that everything you're seeing in the outside world is a reflection of your subconscious identity, not your conscious identity, but your subconscious identity. And a huge part of that is self-worth. And in terms of things like self-sabotage, self-worth is one of the biggest drivers. So if you have a good self-worth, you're much less likely to self-sabotage. So when you cultivate good self-worth, everything in your life is going to align for you, and you're going to just make your life so much easier and so much more aligned to what you want, because you remove those blocks. And in terms of things like manifestation, I believe manifestation is, again, a reflection of who you believe you are on a subconscious level. And self-worth is so much a part of that. So I hope that answer makes sense, but that's how I see it, that, if you cultivate that root of a good self-worth, then everything in your life is going to look pretty amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, in closing, I want to thank you so much for waking up early. For those who are listening, we are on a 12-hour time zone difference, and this is how beautiful she's able to look, how much energy she's able to give at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I want to ask all of you, do you think you could show up that way at 7 o'clock in the morning? Because she just sort of synced in perfectly with the 8 p.m. time zone that all of us have been on. But thank you so much for your words of encouragement, for your authenticity, for your vulnerability, and also for just talking to us about the journey of self-belief and how that shows up in your finances. For those who want to continue the conversation with Anna, you can do so. Follow her. She's So Money on Instagram. You can sign up for her masterclasses. She can teach you, guide you, help you save the first $100,000 and invest and save even more and make more money so you can live the life of your dreams. But it doesn't stop here. This is only the beginning. Cheers to you, Anna. Thanks for getting unlocked with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Cheers.